We have 12 tanks inside of Brawl Stars right now, and in this video I'll be ranking each of them. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Starting off at 12th place we have Ashe. Ashe is the worst tank. Ashe, despite being a tank, can't match other tanks due to his relatively low damage at low rage and his attack delay. It's better to take a bit of damage to be able to deal more damage. He's also overrated due to brawlers with hypercharges. He's been unable to keep up with the hypercharge buffs that brawlers are given. Even if you tried drafting him, there'd always be that one hypercharge brawler that you wouldn't want to face. So yeah, he gets easily countered. Next up we have Hank. Hank is a bad brawler because of his weakness against the more meta brawlers like Lily and Frank, while also being power creeped by other brawlers too. He is pretty poor meta-wise, as he doesn't heal when loading attacks and his attack can be avoided. Hank has a very niche function and he is only good in close range maps with many walls. While he can be good in maps like Parallel Plays and Hard Rock Mine, there are still better options than those maps. Angelo doesn't compare to Hank because Angelo can walk over water, has long range, and a very fast movement speed, while Hank only has average movement speed, mediocre range, and can't dodge shots smoothly. Angelo can also hold his attack for an indefinite amount of seconds, while Hank can only hold his bubble for 3 seconds at max bubble. You shouldn't use Hank's super just for the healing, as it is a waste of super and can leave you in a vulnerable state. Hank's super is one of the few ways for Hank to stand a chance against an incoming assassin. Next up we have Bull. Bull is good at low to mid ladder if you know how to use them well, by being aggressive and can accurately change supers. His hypercharge helps him out and eventually you'll get it, which is nice and can help turn the game around. He's not really viable anywhere outside of Heist and maybe Brawl Ball. At higher ladder, however, you're going to get crushed by other brawlers, and generally the maps aren't the best for him. He won't really be an efficient brawler for control. He's likely a last pick in Heist. Next up we have Rosa. Rosa is a pretty mediocre brawler as of now. She's basically a tank that relies on grass as a form of support and aggression, using her super to soak up damage as she pommels on enemies that can't stop her. Her hypercharge is pretty good, as when activated, she creates a slowing zone around her that moves with her. She can use this to beat a Shelly, which is nice, I assume. Her overall build isn't really that big of a deal or game breaking, as it's just mainly used for support. She can excel in really bushy maps like Snake Prairie for example, and she's also good in the super bushy ranked modifier, as these bushes can help her sneak her way around, and with her unfriendly bushes gadget, she slows down enemies that are in bushes and is also able to see them, hence the sneaking ability is further enhanced. Next up we have Primo. Like Bull, he is a situational type of brawler. He can be good in Brawl Ball, especially as he can tank damage and also just be that one annoying brawler that you have to take out. His super is generally good too, as he jumps on brawlers using it, and it can be used in many ways. Even his hypercharge can be useful, as when Primo hits someone, the enemies are pulled in. If he even pulls in 2 or 3, he can easily chain his super back and deal a lot of damage. The only downside is pretty much his range, as it won't be enough to guarantee a good kill, but if you move smart, he would be good. Next up we have Jackie. Jackie is a decent brawler. Her ability to shoot through cover, her speed, her high health and good super make her a pretty good brawler. As a brawler, she's quite easy to master. She's especially good in Brawl Ball because of her counter crush star power and pneumatic boost gadget, as the counter damage can really help her secure kills. She can easily score goals by just using her super as well. Jackie is one of those brawlers that just stat checks you, either she's pretty good or pretty useless. She is mostly good because of her hypercharge, as when you activate it, she pulls the enemies but also slows them down, leaving them with even less of an escape against her. Next up we have Draco. He is a pretty solid brawler, especially in Hot Zone, mainly because of his super and shredded star power. Once he charges his super, he then becomes an absolute menace and shreds through everyone. With his star power, he heals every time he uses his super for 2750 health. He can cycle his super so easily and just keep on going. You can even use his last stand gadget to save yourself, as this gadget allows him to not fall under 1 HP for 2 seconds. This can be used to quickly charge up his super and get a kill if possible. Next up we have BB. BB's ability to knock enemies back when her home run bar is charged can be used to avoid contact from short-ranged brawlers, which allows you to escape and to stop dangerous attacks and supers before they fully execute, like the supers of Frank and Carl. The thing is, she isn't too great because of her attack delay, and that makes her weak against brawlers that can easily evade her delayed attacks, for example Mortis. To actually consistently hit Mortis, shoot your attack in a forward direction and move backwards at the same time. So basically, the attack and movement motion are in an inverse relationship. Her hypercharge sort of solves her issues, as when she activates her hypercharge, if they hit an enemy, they will split into 2 bubbles, and that's good for changing enemy positions, and it is ridiculously easy to charge. Next up we have Buster. Buster isn't appreciated enough in my opinion. Buster is one of the most versatile tanks because of his ability to charge his super with teammates around him. This makes him viable in pretty much every game mode. His build is honestly pretty good, like for example his super. It's a powerful defensive ability that can turn the tide of a battle. It creates a protective shield in front of Buster, blocking any incoming enemy projectiles. But that's not all. The shield also reflects these projectiles back at the enemy, dealing damage to them. It's particularly effective against brawlers who rely on ranged attacks, as it can neutralize their offensive capabilities while also hurting them. Next up we have Meg. Nothing can get close to her without getting melted by her main attack. That's basically it. They nerfed her range so she's worse against long-range brawlers, but short or mid-ranged ones can't play the game against her. She can walk forward, sponge a lot of hits, melt everything in her way, and when you kill the mech, she is still alive. She will destroy most brawlers in a 1v1 as long as they're in her range. Her damage right now is absurd, but the challenge is you need enemies to be in your line of sight. Her heavy metal star power is especially good, particularly against brawlers that rush onto her, as when she comes out of the mech form, it explodes, dealing 2,400 damage and knocking enemies back. This way she can lower enemies and finish them in a few shots. Next up we have Frank. Even though he did get nerfed, he still continues to be insane in the meta. The thing with Frank is that all his stats seem absolutely busted, and they would be on any other brawler. The only reason as to why he was underpowered for so long, excluding the lack of a hypercharge, was because his attacks took forever to land and you had to freeze in place every time you attacked. But once his attack speed was buffed, he became a menace. The lower his health is, the faster he attacks. His hypercharge is also what makes him insanely strong, as when he uses his super, it hits out in a circle around him, enabling to hit brawlers that are in a different direction to his super. Even with the hypercharge buffs added, once you get stunned, you're doomed. Even if you don't pick a Frank counter, you're doomed. Last but not least, we have Daryl. Ever since his rework, he's been absolutely broken. The fact that he has 2 supers really changed him. It allows him to close the distance and be able to rush better, be able to escape better, and even surprise enemies from random positions. He can easily cycle his super by doing this, and if you get caught up in his super both times, he can knock you back up to 4 times. If you pair a super with his tar barrel gadget, he creates a slowing zone around himself. This in effect will slow enemies, giving them a lack of escape against Daryl. He is really good in modes such as Brawl Ball, where he can easily push up and gain control and be that one really annoying brawler to take down. You can trigger his shield from his 2 supers and get a long amount of shield time as well, allowing Daryl to stay alive longer and make more plays. Overall, he is the best tank. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Be sure to let me know if this was a valid tier list. Be sure to drop a like and sub, join my Discord server, follow all my socials, and I will see you next time. Peace.